From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, thoughts on Tony White and his defense, coaching tiers on the carousel, and is this team aware of their road struggles and ready to shut us up? Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code. You know how it works. You buy one, you get one free. You also know how the Vitamin Energy works, but for the uninitiated, all natural caffeine, body nourishing vitamins, 7 hours of energy, no sugar crash, non-GMO, made in America, award winning, patent pending, all in one little tiny bottle that's not even 2 whole ounces. Give it a try. Give it a shot. VitaminEnergy.com, warchantbogo, buy one, get one free. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Put it on your Christmas list if you're not a member. Try us out for a week in the interim. That's right. Try us out for a week for $1 and get access to a full year subscription to The Athletic. Lots of good stuff going on over there as well. So join the party. On 3, Athletic. Who else is covering college sports like us? Nobody. If I could tap into my inner Jim Harbaugh. Who's got it better than us? Who's got it better than me? Having the co-host, that's Corey Clark. Nobody. What's up, Corey Clark? I haven't listened to headlines. I'm going to have to ask you probably what was said at headlines to give us some forward momentum going into the show today. But most importantly, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. We're recording this before the basketball game, so hopefully Luke's crew took care of business. But, yeah, otherwise doing well, man. Doing well. Thought it was interesting with the Lane Kiffin, them coming out and saying that he has the ultimatum to
deadline
whether he's going to be the coach by the Egg Bowl, and we'll see. And then he comes out and says that's not true, and then it's crazy, man. Just the way this sport works, that because we did talk about this on headlines, as you can imagine, Norvell came up a lot, and I'll give you the breakdown in a second. But how crazy is this sport where there's out of Ole Miss, LSU, and Florida, 2 of those teams will not have a coach when we get to December. National Signing Day is December 3rd, right? And 2 of those 3 teams will not be settled on a coach by then, in all likelihood. That's insane. And one of them is either going to be LSU or Florida. Maybe both. Will not have a head coach as we get into December. Just nutty. What a nutty sport this is.
Yeah, I think the rumor was that Lane Kiffin broke the internet on Tuesday morning with all that news. Yeah. But it was just Cloudflare, everybody. Cloudflare, we all depend on it. And it was not all that reliable on Tuesday. Yeah, we'll see. Again, as we talked about on the show the other day, Ole Miss fans, they're not telling him to leave, but they're not exactly pining for him to stay at this point, which is crazy. Listen, I don't know, man. I don't know if Lane Kiffin's ever going to win a national title somewhere, but I think he's a good coach. I think you'll always you'll have a great offense, and you'll probably always be in the mix as long as he's your head coach. So I don't know what the price tag is on a guy like that, but
but at some point, as a fan base, you're going to have some pride and be like, enough, man. Quit making us beg for you to stay. Decide. Yeah. He's about to have a playoff team.
Yeah.
He's not going to coach in the playoff? And if he does coach in the playoff, but he takes the Florida job, what's Florida going to do for those 6 weeks? And he's going to be that's assuming he's coaching for those whole 6 weeks, they win games. But he's clearly going to be distracted because he's going to be having to put a staff together. He's probably going to be recruiting players from Ole Miss to go to Florida or to go to LSU. The whole thing just sucks. I mean, I know it's the way the sport's always been, but think about that. Ole Miss finally has some success in this sport. And, buddy, it has been a long time since they had any success. They're in the playoff. They're in the hunt for a national championship, which I don't think they've ever won, at least not in my lifetime, not before color TV. Not before – it had to happen before color TV. So they're there getting ready to play the biggest games in program history, and their coach is not only recruiting staff to go with them to another place, but probably players off that roster? Yuck. Yuck. Why do we allow this sport to operate like this? It's just crazy. It's crazy, but it is what it is.
All right, on Tuesday, we got to speak to the coordinators, Gus Malzahn and Tony White. This will be a little bit of a resumption of the mailbag show. We're going to have some guests later on in the week. Our Friday program will probably have, we'll have Noah Fleischman from the Wolfpacker kind of giving us an update summary preview of NC State, since that'll be actual game day. So that'll be our contribution of a pregame show. I'm sure Jeff and Tom are working on one as well, Corey. But we spoke to the coordinators. Let's focus, I guess, first on Coach Tony White, because Greenville was asking for our take on Coach White. The defense seems to be so up and down. I cannot figure out if it's lack of quality players, lack of ability to coach them up, or some of both. I like the way he talks, which, I mean, wherever that counts. Like the last thing I think he talked about, I guess after he talked about the inspiration from Ethan, was just like, and this is what a lot of, pro Norvell people out there still say, is like they play so hard, they continue to play hard despite the losses, and it's only a matter of time before things start kind of going in their favor if you stay the course, which is what he was trying to kind of communicate to us. Any takeaways from Tony and your thoughts right now with 2 more games about this defense and it being so up and down? Where will they land this week on the wheel of who knows what?
Yeah, I mean, with the way he talked about NC State's offense, now he obviously admitted they had a poor game in South Florida. They did not play well, but they are a good offense. The way he talked about them, it's one of the best offenses they faced, maybe the best. He compared C.J. Bailey to a young Jaden Daniels. It's like, yikes. Okay, this isn't vibing well for the Noles on Friday night. So yeah, I think that it was illuminating how much he seems to respect that offense, and. That's concerning because they are going to score points. Can you hold them under 30? Can this offense go score 30 on the road? Well, who knows? I just thought the way he talked about that offense and the fact that they have playmakers everywhere, the tight end's good, the quarterback he said is really good and really athletic. He doesn't look to run much, but he extends plays. That all didn't bode well necessarily for what this defense is. And yeah, I think that's fair. This defense is. I don't think this defense is blessed with a lot of great players. I think now this probably isn't fair because I think Mandrell Desir is one of the better freshmen in the country, but he's probably been your best. He's been your most impactful defensive player on the season. I would say him, Earl Little, and Rawls have been the. And I know Darrell Jackson does it without getting stats. I'm not dismissing the fact that he has to eat double and triple teams all the time, but he has not made an impact in the box score at all. He has not made game-changing plays. Offenses aren't allowing him to, but he still hasn't. Desir has. Earl Little has. But, there's just not a ton of elite-level talent on that side of the ball. They just think about who they got in the portal. They got the linebacker from North Carolina, nothing. Not a darn thing all season. They got Jason Jenkins, Diggs, and McCray. And James Williams.
Stephon Thompson. We're talking about up front,
Stephon Thompson. Yeah. Great. What had those guys done? Yeah. Literally, what have those guys done? Now, some of it's been injury, some of it's been poor performance. I get that. Like Diggs and Thompson have been injured. McCray's made a couple plays here and there.
Jenkins was hurt earlier. He didn't really practice
and he's
at all.
Made a couple plays, but they are what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
James Williams has been a massive disappointment. Massive. He's not as good as they thought he was or purported him to be. That's been a bummer. But if this thing comes back next year and the staff comes back, I don't think that's a Tony White miscalculation getting those guys, right? I think that was the best they could do in a short amount of time with maybe the resources or money they were willing to throw at that position. I feel like next year they're going to throw a little bit more money at that position. They're going to give him more groceries to cook with. And I would like to see that. I would like to see him be able to go get guys that fit his defense a little better. Obviously, go get some better linebackers and go get a massive improvement on the defensive line. That's all there. Hopefully you can save money because you don't need a brand new offensive line. And maybe you're saving money because you're not firing the coach. But yeah, I think Tony White's been I think that defense has been decent. Nothing special, but decent, good enough. Good enough for this team to have won 8 games. It's won 5. I don't think that's all on the defense.
I haven't played a lot of great offenses here of late, though. We'll see if NC State's maybe up to the challenge. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like giving him benefit of the doubt or not. But the only player I can remember they recruited out of the portal that was looked upon as being like one of the more elite guys out there was Lee Hunter, who was at UCF with Gus and Herb Hand played defensive line though, but Gus brought him to UCF, and he went to Texas Tech, and we know why kids pick Texas Tech over Florida State.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know. I don't know if it's lack of evaluation, lack of powder they had in the cannons to go after big guys. But on the offense, they went after really big fish. I mean, really, really big fish. Like one of the starting tackles, I think from Ohio State, they got on campus. So there was many of those.
I mean, they got a starting tackle from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I mean, they went at that. That's where I think they spent, and they had to, right? As bad as that thing was last year, they had to get much, much better on offense. And it should have equated to a couple more wins than it has, but it hasn't. Your record is your record. You are what you are. But I understand why they did that. It's just hard to judge Tony it's not really. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's a good coach. He doesn't have great players. He had better players in Nebraska than he has this year at Florida State, especially in the front seven.
Yeah.
There's no contest. Let's sprinkle in some more good players in the front seven and see what this thing looks like. And it's a great start with the Desirs, especially Mandrell. If he's coming back, you've got, I think, one of the better defensive linemen in the conference, in the country maybe. He's going to be a freshman All-American. And Tony White talked about him and said, what did he say? He's right now it's still taking him 2 blinks.
Right.
And he's doing it more when he's looking at what the offense is running.
He's reacting. Yeah, he doesn't know the play
He's just
yet.
reacting.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what they're doing. He's kind of reacting to what he sees, and it's taking him a couple of blinks. But once he figures out exactly what they're doing, he'll trigger faster. It'll only be 1 blink instead of 2. And he goes, those are the guys that their pictures are on the wall. And that's where he thinks Mandrell has the potential to get to, is a guy whose picture is on the wall at Florida State, which is, pretty heady company.
Yeah. FSU Hall of Fame people in the hallway leading up to the museum where we hold our press conferences throughout the week, everybody. This one perhaps a little bit dated because James Franklin's on it, but North Alabama Noel was saying, let's break down coaching wishes into tiers. To keep it simple, we'll go with categories rather than names.
Okay.
So his tier 1 was Lane or James Franklin, but then tier 2 says current P2 head coach.
Wow.
Which they
aren't available.
Yeah, exactly.
Who would that even be?
I don't
know.
know.
So on the Big Ten or the SEC, like Clark Lee, I guess, or Jeff Brom?
Yeah.
Somebody like that? In their power 2, but or I guess Jeff Brom's not even a power 2.
Correct.
Clark Lee is a power 2 coach. He's in the SEC, but Vanderbilt is not a power 2 program. Right. So that's why Florida State would be a significant step up and give him a real chance. But I don't know about another school where somebody like that would be they would consider the job they're at a stepping stone.
I'm just trying to think of are there more than 4 teams in the Big Ten that like their head coach right now? I don't think Michigan fans are over the moon with Sharon Moore right now. SC fans aren't in love with Lincoln Riley. Other than Oregon, Ryan Day and Dan Lanning, are Iowa fans in love with Kirk Ferentz? Yeah,
Indiana's. Yeah, no, I was not in love with that guy. I think the number is 3. And look around the country, man. There aren't many programs that are in love with in these conferences that are in love with their coach. Miami fans, I guess, are they? I don't know.
SMU likes. I think Virginia's happy with what Tony Elliott's doing this year. I think Wake Forest likes what Jake Dicker can possibly be for them. I'm sure Stanford's going to make a really good hire when Andrew Luck gets all that stuff figured out. So I feel like there's more programs. I think Duke is probably more or less satisfied with Manny Diaz, although I know they lost last week. And obviously Virginia Tech fans are really excited about having James Franklin. So it's funny because I don't know who you would of those coaches in the Big Ten that you would think would be available because they're not trending in a good direction. I wouldn't want any of those guys here. I don't want PJ Fleck. I don't want
and that's the
Jonathan Smith.
And I don't know what his next tiers are, but
P2 coordinators.
So that to me is because they're going to be cheaper. You're going to get them from a better program, and you got to hope you strike gold. Or strike oil, I guess. Do you strike gold?
Yeah.
You strike gold, right?
Yeah, man. The vein, the mother lode, the ore.
I think you get more money with that oil, though. You want to strike oil, not gold. And that's where I think if Florida State makes a change, that to me is the route to take. Now that Franklin's off the board, and apparently, I think Florida State could have had Franklin, and we'll see if it was a huge mistake that they didn't go get him. I definitely think he was waiting around to see if the Florida State job became available,
Absolutely.
or if Florida State somehow became interested in him, and they did not. And I'm on record as saying that's where I would have gone. I would have done it after the Stanford game. But here we are. They did not fire Mike Norvell after the Stanford game. He is still the head coach, and James Franklin is no longer on the board. So with that in mind, I don't know, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just saying, me personally, I would be through with the group of 5 coaches, head coaches. If you're firing Norvell, you're saying, okay, well, that was a failure. Obviously, Willie Taggart was a failure. Well, so you're 0 for 2 going that route. And I know Willie was at Oregon for a year, but again, he was hired for what he did at South Florida.
Yeah.
And he was not great at Oregon. And, so that's why I would lean towards the coordinator route. That's where I'd go. That's my tier 1 right now. Kiffin, you're not getting. You don't even want to be involved in those sweepstakes. So go get you a good coordinator from one of the big boy schools and hope you strike oil.
So that's Tier 3, current P2 coordinator, must be proven over multiple seasons. Tier 4, ACC or Big 12 head coach. Now, see, that's where I find it a little bit interesting because, Buster Faulkner from Georgia Tech was a name that was thrown out there. I spoke to somebody the other day at the gym that said that, they really like Brent Key. And, I like those guys. I really like Brent Key. I think Brent Key should be at Georgia Tech, rather, for, the rest of his life. That just is a really good fit, I feel like.
Yep.
But let's see what they look like without Haynes King. I don't know how much of, Haynes King is just he's an island unto himself. He's like a force of nature in terms of just willing and being so tough. And that was coached at some point earlier in his life when his dad was his coach. I don't really think that's Brent Key and Buster Faulkner. So I need to see more from those guys, especially Faulkner, to be like, all right, bring that guy in particularly.
Yeah.
Big 12 head coach, I would be Kenny Dillingham, which apparently some of these faux markets that let you bet on anything. Dillingham is like one of the odds-on favorites for the LSU job, although he said he had no plans of leaving as long as they...
Can you imagine firing Brian Kelly? No offense, Kenny. I love you. You fired Brian Kelly to hire Kenny Dillingham? Are you high? What are y'all doing? Good night. But maybe Kenny's bringing his quarterback with him to LSU because apparently Levitt's going to be on the open market.
Correct.
So maybe Kenny's a package deal with his quarterback, which would make him very appealing to anyone, including here, quite honestly. Yeah. And that's kind of what that was the main overriding point of headlines. We talked a lot about Tommy. We talked a lot about if he'd come back, if Deuce would come back, what this would look like. I voiced my opinion again that I think it's the NC State game. That's when you make the decision one way or the other. Of course, because it's headlines, I somehow get roped in to saying that I'm a Norvell lover and he should keep his job and I believe in him, when that's no way, shape the case or what my opinion. My opinion is, though, if you're going to if it's still in the balance, get it over with after the NC State game one way or the other. Don't string this out anymore. Just make the decision after if he wins, if that's all you needed to see was to get to bowl eligibility, then make the announcement, get some stability for the next 6 weeks. And if he doesn't win, fire him. And figure out and go get somebody else. You'll have a little bit more time than if you wait to see if he beats the Gators. And also if you fired him, again, I've been saying this for a month now. Let's say he loses to NC State, which is a distinct possibility because it is not in Doak Campbell Stadium, and it's an ACC game. Yeah. You fire him, but you let him coach the last game. And I think Norvell would stay around to coach the last game. I legitimately do. And I think I'm probably naive, but I think there's a decent chance his team would play hard, play well, and somehow be able to miracle a win over a 3-win Florida team. And he would get to end his career being carried off the field in the swamp after he plants a spear in the middle of Florida field.
He would be hoisted.
That would be his lasting image.
He would be hoisted.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he won't be hoisting a trophy. He'll be hoisted. And we'll all be celebrating Mike Norvell's last game at Florida State. That seems like the perfect way for his tenure to end, would be getting a win over a rival on the road, and then that's it, riding off into the sunset. But the main point that Ira and I are both trying to make is, man, because Jeff brings it up, and I know we talked about it yesterday about if Norvell comes back after 6-6 or 7-5, it's going to be hard to talk about this team, and it's going to be hard to be excited. Well, what if they get Sam Levitt as their quarterback?
Well, you said yesterday no one will be excited until they beat Alabama. But I mean, wouldn't we have learned our lesson from this year? Like, even a win over Alabama and Tuscaloosa, wouldn't we still caution ourselves? Or do you think we would let our guard?
But I was talking about more in the offseason. Like, what would people would just be – because Jeff's theory is that they would have – and we got into a whole conversation. It's actually really entertaining, I think. And we weren't playing like a bit. We were believing what we were saying. But somebody talked about if you don't fire – one of the questions was if you don't fire Norvell, you're just accepting mediocrity. And I'm like, well, that's – it just shows that Florida State accepts mediocre. And it's like, man, that's just – to me, that's insulting to the program that you and I have both grown up with. At no time in our life has Florida State just straight up accepted mediocrity.
We pushed out Bobby Bowden, everybody. We pushed out Bobby Bowden.
Exactly right. You fired Bobby Bowden. Yeah. You paid Mike Norvell $50 or gave him a contract that made him the second highest paid coach in the country to keep him away from Alabama. You just built all those renovations onto the stadium and by the practice fields. Like, this is not a program that accepts mediocrity ever.
What's keeping Mike Norvell considered then? That's
that's what the point was. But there is an extenuating circumstance, which is a huge buyout.
Yeah.
And that also doesn't mean if you keep Mike Norvell after 6-6 or 7-5, you are destined for another 6-6 season. I get that people would think that. You would have no belief. No, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. But nobody thought Brent Key was going to be 9-1. Like, things happen. Sports are sports. Just because you sucked in 2024, just because you were mediocre in 2025, does not mean you're going to be mediocre in 2026. Some teams actually get really better. And the beauty of this sport right now, there's a lot to not like, is that you can change your roster immediately. And it can be much better immediately. And if you believe in this coaching staff enough to evaluate and identify in the portal and on the recruiting trail, because they got guys on the recruiting trail this past year that can actually play, heaven forbid, they actually signed some guys that can play. That there is a chance this team could be pretty darn good next year. There is a chance, right? Look around the country. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, clearly, but there is a chance. And that was my point, is like they wouldn't just be going into 2026 thinking, well, okay, good luck, Mike. We just got to wear it. We got to wear it for the next 4 years because we owe you this money. No, if Mike Norvell came back, they would, I legitimately think they would announce some sort of restructuring of his contract to make it more palatable for Florida State fans. And also, I think they go get him a quarterback because he can't get one himself. We understand that. Go get yourself a quarterback, and then all the angst and all the low expectations and all the mediocrity talk, if you have a guy that you think is one of the 5 or 10 best quarterbacks in the country, and quite frankly, I don't even know who that is right now. I don't even know who you should be excited about going and getting. No. Other than like Levitt. Is there anybody else? Arch Manning?
Lenora Sellers. That's the name that keeps going forward.
Yeah, Lenora Sellers, somebody like that. If that's the selling point. It's not Norvell, clearly. But football is a lot. I'm not saying a quarterback is more important than a head coach, but I'm kind of saying a quarterback is more important than a head coach. It's weird that Mike Norvell seemed like one of the best coaches in America when he had Jordan Travis. And since Jordan Travis, he is not, I'm going to go ahead and say it, I don't care, he has not been a very good coach. I'm willing to say that.
Hell yeah.
Jimbo Fisher was an incredible coach when he had Jameis Winston. Pretty darn good coach with EJ. Not all that good with James Blackman or anybody he had at A&M.
He was all right with DeAndre Francois. Christian Ponder.
Yeah, all right. That offense was pretty good. And the Ponder was pretty good. And you look at the NFL. You look at the NFL, man. Yeah. Just keep bringing that up. Sean McVay looks pretty good with Matt Stafford. Todd Bowles looks good when Baker Mayfield's playing well. Is the Buffalo Bills coach a genius? Or does he have Josh Allen? Like, go get a quarterback and see what happens.
Yeah, they need somebody to identify that for them, that's the problem.
That's the issue.
Your head coach can't evaluate the most important position on the entire field. He's not exactly the best at calling plays any longer, it seems like, because he was willing to give that up at the drop of a hat. Yeah. And so, again,
I want to say this. I'm on record. I'm going to say it again just for the people in the back. If he loses to NC State, I'd be done with him. Can't do it. Can't stomach it anymore.
You were done with him after Stanford, though, Corey.
I was. And I want people to realize that. I was done with him after Stanford. I can't believe they kept him. But they did keep him. For what reason, I'm not sure. They clearly don't want to fire him. But I think if he goes and loses to NC State, and I know it's weird to put so much stock in the game in Raleigh, I would be like, that's your last sign you need, everyone. If you're holding out hope that he could turn – because this is not a bad football team.
Correct.
It's not. It's talented enough to be one of the 5 best in the ACC. And that, good grief, that's not saying a lot. To be one of the 3 or 4 best in the ACC, it should be in Charlotte. It is good enough to be competing for a spot in Charlotte. But it hasn't been. And if he goes and loses to a 5-5 NC State team after losing to a whatever Stanford is, 3-7, after losing to a 5-5 Clemson team, enough. And now I know people, it doesn't make sense. I can't articulate it. It doesn't make sense because then people would say like, well, yeah, but then you'd keep him after he lost to 3-8 Florida. Yeah. I'm like, I get it. That doesn't make sense. I get it. But I just think this NC State game was so much on the line, a road game, an ACC game. If you go up there and lose again to this stupid conference, I'm done with it. I'm quite frankly, I'm kind of done with it anyway. But if you're looking at it from their point of view and what their rationale should be when it comes to that money, I get why they would want to keep him for an extra year, at least one more year, if he can somehow miracle himself to 6 wins. He would have tripled his wins from last year. Hey, baby, tripled his ACC wins,
Stop
too.
Stop
he would have tripled his ACC wins. Are you kidding me? What an improvement. That I think that would give them enough reason to say, let's run it back with this staff for one more year, and let's get this guy a quarterback. Let's announce some sort of stupid financial restructuring and see what happens. But, I'm going to let you talk, Aslan, I promise. But what's so concerning is there isn't a slam dunk out there. That's what's so, I don't know, scary. Scary is not the right word. That's might be another reason for trepidation is you don't know what you're going to be getting.
Is there ever, though?
Now, you can't – scared money never made money. I get that. But you don't know – whoever you hire is not going to be a slam dunk. I think the one guy that was closest to being a slam dunk is now in Blacksburg. And so –
I know, but Scott Frost was a slam dunk. Tom Herman was a slam dunk. Jim Harbaugh was a slam dunk, and he really wasn't for a little bit there until they
for a long time, right? 6 or 7 years.
So I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Brian Kelly seemed like a slam dunk hire. I don't know if there ever will be that. But to finish the question from North Alabama,
North Alabama,
Tier 5 would be a group of 5 coach. What do you guys think? Unfortunately, if FSU gets rid of Mike this season, as they should, I think they end up with Tier 4 or 5. The list of coordinators that have come from a big-name program and have become successful head coaches is much longer than those who came from a G5 program. Fair? It's fair.
Yeah, I don't know why you would think they'd get a 4 or 5. I think they'd absolutely make a run at in a coordinator from one of these schools.
Yeah,
that would make the most sense to me. They would be cheaper. They're also around. They're around it right now. You're getting a guy that knows it, knows what it's supposed to look like. And again, Hartline shoots to the top of my list. He checks a lot of boxes, in my opinion. But you could make a case for 4 or 5 other guys that I'd be perfectly fine with. And part of it, I think, when people listening to this, I know a lot of you, and I'm almost there with you. I kind of am, honestly, is like anybody but Norvell at this point.
Right.
I'm with you. I mean, even if they beat NC State, 4-12 in your last 16, 3-5 this year, that sucks. That sucks. But we can't ever talk about him without, and this was the main point Ira and I brought up to Jeff. It really was the main point. I know I've said that 4 times now. Was you can't talk about this decision in this program without factoring in the money. That is not an insignificant amount of money. Yeah. And in this day and age, you do have to kind of ask yourself, because there's no coach that's worth this. This is not 2005 or 2010. There's not a coach that's worth this kind of money when the players are getting paid. So how do you allocate your money? What's best for the program when it comes to resources? And is what's best for your program to pay this guy to go away? If he loses NC State, my answer is yes. Kind of honestly, if he wins these last 2 games, I don't have any confidence he's going to be that he's going to lead this team to the promised land. Nobody does. And so I understand that rationale of, like, if you don't think this is the guy that can get Florida State back to being an Ohio State, which Florida State was for a long time. Florida State was a better program than Ohio State for 25 years. So that it is not unreasonable to think that could happen again. If this guy isn't the guy to do that, what are you waiting around for? I get it. Let me just throw that out there. I understand it.
Well, we got to get to talking about our great friends that don't suck at Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. But what really affects, and I don't totally disagree with what you're saying, Corey. I mean, the money is a real legitimate problem here, is that, like, there's other comparisons going on around you that should give you the gumption to go ahead and pull the trigger and move forward and try to find somebody new. Because, like, LSU bit the bullet, paid off Brian Kelly. They want to move in a different direction. Will it work out? I don't know. I mean, A&M, they got rid of Jimbo. They went and got, listen, Elko was their second sort of preference, apparently. They wanted Mark Stoops. Like, so you've seen two schools that have had the money to be able to figure it out. So when you don't and you blame it on the money, it's like, well, we're less than. So then that irks you. And then just from 2023 to where they are now, it's such an unbelievable precipitous fall. And this is going on concurrently with, like Kenny Dillingham, first year at Arizona State, 6 games below 500. Next season in the playoff. Kurt Signetti, year 1 Indiana, in the playoff. So these other things are happening around us outside this vacuum that we live in. And that's probably something for another show, Corey. But that's my biggest concern. What are the people that are the money folks at Florida State that are involved in making this decision? How much other college football do they watch? How much other college football trends, history are they kind of aware of? Or are we just operating, we only look at Mike and Mike only, and we're just judging him based on what he's done here, and we like him, and he's a good guy, and he's done it before, and he should be able to do it again? Or it's like, look around who has been able to fix it, quote unquote, twice. And then in the meantime, other programs have done bold moves and made really good hires and been really better off for it immediately.
Yeah, so what's the question?
That affects. That's why it's hard to just be like, we have to be cognizant of the money. Everybody chill out.
Yes.
Because I think we are.
Yep.
But it's just, we see other schools
time,
that are being able to do it. It's like, well, that sucks for us, man.
It does, but I would argue a little bit like, Florida makes a coaching hire every 3 years.
Hey, sorry. And Penn State too, right? Especially Penn State, because they got rid of him and they don't even have to pay him out that much money because Virginia Tech's going to spend all this money to get him because Virginia Tech values him. We can't fire Mike Norvell because nobody's going to give him a significant contract. Like, that sucks, too.
Maybe not. Maybe if he wins these next 2 games, buddy. Maybe he's Oklahoma State's new head coach, and then that mitigates some of it. I think when it comes to that, though, I get it. You look around, and that was another thing that we talked about on Headlines and we've talked about here, is like it makes Florida State fans feel less than or like they're not taken seriously because they're not firing a coach that just went, let's say, 6-6 after 2-10. Man, I guess my pushback to Jeff on that is like, who cares? Who do you take seriously? You take Auburn seriously? Because I don't. They fired Gus Malzahn and hired Brian Harsin, and then replaced him with Hugh Freeze. But because they fired Hugh Freeze, they care more than you do. They take their sport seriously more than you do. LSU just fired a guy that was 20 games above 500 in his 4 years there. But we're supposed to take them seriously, or are we supposed to take Florida seriously, who goes through a head coach every recruiting cycle? They're on their 5th head coaching search. 6th, maybe, since Urban. 6th, right? Muschamp, McElwain, Mullen, Napier. I feel like there's another one in there. At least they're 5th.
No.
So, what I would push back on is the fact that because Florida State has not made a decision, they care less than these other schools. These other schools kind of look foolish and dumb right now. Virginia Tech doesn't. They got James Franklin. Who's Penn State's coach going to be? And is he going to be better than James Franklin?
Brian Daboll.
Who are they?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know who they're
right, great, good. Go get him. Like who? Like none of these big football schools that made their reactionary firings to acquiesce the fan base, to appease the fan base. They have accomplished exactly nothing since they did it. Florida keeps losing, and they do not have a head coach right now. LSU does not have a head coach right now. Penn State does not have a head coach right now. Neither does UCLA. The only one that's filled the void is Virginia Tech. So what exactly was accomplished? And I'm always going to push back on it. Maybe it's because I've been going to games since I was 7 years old, man. Florida State is not less than. Florida State has a coach that's hit a bad patch and might probably be fired in 4 days. But that does not mean that Florida State does not take this seriously. As Aslan just pointed out, they fired Bobby Bowden. Did Penn State fire Paterno after that? They must have, right? Finally?
I think finally, yeah.
Yeah, after that debacle. But, Florida State fired a legend. That's how much Florida State cares. That's how much this place cares about football. So, but you also don't want to be Auburn. Make sure you have a good hire in place. Make sure that it makes sense from not only a financial point of view, but a program point of view. Behind the scenes, the people that make these decisions might be I like everything else about this, other than the fact that Sawchuk didn't score and Deuce bobbled it and blah, blah, blah. I like the direction of this program. So, I just don't think it's apples to apples when it comes to some of this. I understand it looks like they're doing nothing. I understand the disappointment in this season, and I understand the disappointment in this coach. And I am on record as saying he would not be my coach if I was running this university. But I'm not. I don't know, though, that there's no – I have no idea what's best for Florida State in 2026. I don't know. Who does? People might say it's not to have Norvell. Well, it's those same people that in the middle of 2021, I promise you, were saying he sucks, get rid of him. Or even in the middle of 2022. And then he won 19 games in a row. And I'm not predicting that to happen again, but none of us know anything. None of us can predict the future when it comes to college football, because I promise you nobody listening to this show thought Indiana would have a juggernaut when they hired Frank Cignetti, or Kurt Cignetti, sorry. Oh. Nobody thought Virginia would be in the midst of an ACC championship hunt when this season started. It's weird. It's a weird sport. And going all in on coaches now and giving them this kind of money seems absurd to me. Absurd. Florida State was I guess Indiana now is that, and probably whoever hires Kiffin. But, put that more towards the players, man. Come on. If there is unless there's a salary cap, then who knows? Is there going to be a salary cap, Aslan? Do we believe in it? Who knows?
I believe in the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, home of the best trivia night in all of Tallahassee, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. usually. Put that on your calendar for next week, boys and girls. Bingo night, Thursday, 7 p.m. Cash money up for grabs, 4 different rounds, $250 up for grabs in each single round. Delicious food, ice cold drink, televisions galore, dartboards, pool tables, jukebox. What else do you want from your favorite sports bar? Oh, maybe a really cool dude hanging out there all the time by the name of Corey Clark. He'll be there. Say hi to him every now and then when you see him, everybody. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Why would you wander around a warehouse store looking for paint when you could just swing by your neighborhood Ace? In addition to Ace's award-winning service, we have top-rated paint brands. Plus, our color matching technology allows us to match any color. So stop wandering and start painting. Head to your neighborhood Ace today.
In Crawfordville, your home convenience store is Ace Home Center and NAPA Auto Parts, located at 2709 Crawfordville Highway. We are back. It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code. And let's get to the last, I think only 2 questions. And one of them is very James Franklin-centric. It's Big Steve-O 22. He was having a hard time being sold on James Franklin. I guess the argument can be made that he develops talent, but isn't it the position coaches and trainers more responsible for developing that talent? Why do we give head coaches so much admiration for their ability to develop talent when it's not on them to do it? Losing record against top 10 teams, Norvell and Kiffin both have that as well. I guess my point, and Corey's made this as well, there are no sure things out there outside of Kirby and Ryan Day. Correct, but I want to gamble. I want to gamble. He also says, give me Brian Hartline and make him reunite with Dolphin teammate Jason Taylor. That'd be
there
nice.
You go. Yeah. And then bring Jeremiah Smith with you. I also don't even know if Ryan Day is a slam dunk guarantee.
Yeah, man.
Kirby's the only one for sure. Isn't that crazy? Kirby is literally, I think, the only coach in the country that I would say you could put him on 40 different campuses, and they would be. I would have no doubt they would be very, very good very quickly. Yeah. And he's about the only one I could say that about, which is crazy. Good for him. Georgia's own, Bainbridge's own Kirby
Right.
Smart. It's funny in this as we were talking about, as I was talking in the last segment, I got a text from my ex-wife who said, "Y'all talk about the upcoming game!" Exclamation point. I'd love to hear about NC State and how we might beat them or what might be an issue. I cannot hear any more speculation about if this man is going to coach our team next year! Exclamation point. I am so super annoyed that this administration gave him that ridiculously bloated buyout. But I can at least respect that they are seemingly keeping their word and waiting until the season is over to make decisions. I imagine Shanna speaks for a large amount.
Well, why doesn't she get her own
listeners.
podcast then, Corey?
Well, right. Shut up, Shanna. Nobody asked you. Lose this number. That's what I'm about to text her back. Lose this number. But yeah, going in, and I get it, man. It's like it's just such a. That's why I was so surprised after the Stanford game, because it really didn't give us a lot of. Like, it's awesome they beat Wake. We did talk a little bit about that. We love Deuce, but it's like it became once that decision wasn't made after Stanford, it guaranteed it was going to be the story for the next 5 weeks, and that's where we are. It's the story. Now, at least in the press conferences, we've been asking more about football and football-related topics. But again, if there's an L on Friday night, that press conference is probably not going to be a lot of, yeah, man. So what do you think Tommy saw on that third down play? It'll be more like, do you think you're going to be the head coach here for the Florida game? However we want to word it, or whatever that Monday press conference will look like after another loss, it's just gross. It's purgatory. It's just purgatory. That's why, again, I'll just say it one more time. Hopefully this will be the last week we will be talking about coaching, who the head coach will be or won't be, more importantly, in 2026. I think there will be some I don't know why. I don't know why I'm confident of that. I don't have any inside sources telling me this. I just think there will be some finality on Saturday or Sunday, one way or the other. But about this game, Aslan, NC State has one of the worst defenses Florida State's faced, right?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
the worst
They're
in the
bad.
conference.
Yeah.
For a conference team, I think they have the worst defense that Florida State has faced. They are playing at home, though, and as Gus Malzahn said on Tuesday, he expects them to play much, much better. They're expecting a really good effort from NC State. And, it's one of these, like, NC State's not a good defense, but your offense hasn't been good on the road the last 2 times it went out there. So can you buck that trend and be better? I think it's interesting with Gus, man, when he talked after the Clemson game. Like, it seemed like he felt the Stanford game was an anomaly. Like, that was just a crazy, weird road game. Because they did play well offensively against Virginia.
Right.
He thought that was an anomaly against Stanford. But when it happened again against Clemson, and Clemson's defense has not been great shakes, everyone. But y'all been watching that thing, it has not been good. When they made dumb mistakes in that game too, or killer mistakes in that game, he decided like, oh, this is a trend. That wasn't a one-off. What's going on here? And as I've had confidence in Gus Malzahn throughout the course of the offseason and into the season to think that he could get this offense fixed and make it a real competent offense, which it has been. It's been more than competent in 1 year. I think he's also going to do something. He'll have figured something out. I don't know what, where they're going to play better on the road. Don't know what it will be. Might just be as simple as Tommy being able to run again and make people miss in the open field, which he hadn't done in a month, 6 weeks. But maybe that's the element. But I just think Gus seemed confident, and I'm confident in Gus that he'll figure out whatever these dumb road woes are, at least the offense will perform more at a Florida State caliber level than it has the last 2 road games. Agree or disagree, Aslan?
I didn't sense that from him all that much, but I don't think, at this point, I don't think there's some sort of button they're going to push that's going to make them play considerably different on the road, other than maybe like this is just a really bad defense. I feel like Stanford actually had like a reasonably okay-ish. None of these defenses were great. Virginia didn't have a great defense. Stanford didn't have a great defense. But I think NC State just might be at a different level of terrible. Even in that game that they won over Georgia Tech, they still surrendered like 38 points, I think. So, they're 4-1 at home. And they did play terrible, so I'm expecting them to maybe have some pride, but maybe they've, I believe more in Florida State playing hard for Mike Norvell than I do NC State playing hard for Dave Doran.
But I also believe more in Florida State losing on the road than NC State losing at home.
I guess. Well, here's my question, kind of tongue-in-cheek. Like, if they win, does Justin Cryer come in the postgame and have a chip on his shoulder? How much do you think they are talking? Because the way that Gus was speaking about it, and I think maybe to a less extent Tony, like they realize, and they've only been here for 10 games, but like they're aware that the team hasn't been playing well on the road. Like I wonder how much of that has permeated into the locker room, and this will be like a rally around like let's shut everybody up, because I don't know, they might have not been all that cognizant, the players, in the lead up to Stanford. Like, hey, man, we've not been playing well on the road here in a long time because, last season was last season, and they only played one other road game. That was Virginia. Eons ago, it probably felt like, because they were undefeated and number 8 in the country, and then they go into the Stanford game on a 3-game losing streak. So I wonder how much of just them hearing that, the way that it motivated them to probably play well against Alabama, being told how bad they were and how they had no chance. Yeah. I wonder how much they kind of have been picking up on, you guys aren't good on the road, and that's going to be something they're going to want to prove everybody wrong on again.
Well, and that's another reason why I think it's such a statement. It's such a referendum, honestly. Again, I guess I'm delving back into this. But
sorry, Shanna.
They know but it's my fault. But they know, it's also, there's not much. Okay, Tommy hit some throws. Mackay, get open downfield more, I guess. Squirrel, make some play. Like, there's not much to talk about the game. NC State's defenses is bad. Their linebackers are not NC State caliber linebackers by any stretch. Their quarterback is good. I feel like it has the elements to be another Virginia-type shootout game, but your defense is better than their defense. So that should give you an advantage. The problem is I think their quarterback is better than your quarterback. So we'll see if that's the deciding factor. But anyway, like that's why this isn't a huge game. This team has not proven it can win on the road. It is something they've been talking about. It is something they've been paying close attention to. At least the coaches have said that. They're trying to figure this out. They're trying to get them to play well on the road. It is an absolute on the agenda, first line item on the agenda. So if then they then go to Raleigh and don't play well again, well, then they can't figure it out. And so what gives you hope that they're going to figure out in Gainesville, and more importantly, they're going to figure out in 2026? No. And again, I know it's a one game. It shouldn't come. It should be more about the overall 6 years, not just 1 or 2 games. But if you're fighting for your job, which he clearly is because he has not been fired, they have not made an announcement, his job is on the line. His team knows his job is on the line. He is not playing, the 2001 Miami Hurricanes this Friday night. He is playing an eminently beatable team. If they can't go and take care of business and win that game and play well situationally and finally win on the road in this with these kind of stakes, then what other data points are you looking for? You say data or data?
I'm totally inconsistent. It's
I am too. It's weird.
If I say it 50 times,
data, yeah, but sometimes it rolls out as data, and data just sounds dumb because it's too close to daddy or dada. I don't like that. I don't like data because it's too close to daddy.
I think I say
and I like daddy. Daddy's a fun word.
Oh, geez.
When was the last time you said daddy, Aslan? What was the context?
Let's go to M. Adam CZ, which basically culminates and encapsulates everything Corey's been saying for like the last week here. Mark and Corey, very aligned. Okay, this has to be it, right? Win at NC State, a place where even good FSU teams hardly win, and Mike shows enough improvement to keep his job. Bowl eligibility, baby. Lose, he's done. Can't win on the road. Staring right down the barrel at another L on the road in Gainesville. Pull the plug Sunday after the NC State loss. Hire the next guy. You see it playing out this way. Question mark. I mean, you lose another ACC game on the road. Who cares what happens in Gainesville, right? I'd rather win in Gainesville than in Raleigh, but that's just me. But I get it. Yeah, and I don't really want to. There's really anything else to say there, Corey. He's summed up what you've been saying here for most of the shows this week and towards this latter half of last week. So.
And also, what I would say is I want to make it clear again, because I'm sure there are people that watched headlines that think I'm all on the Mike Norvell train.
Oh, you're going to ruin my drive.
I am not of the opinion that a win over NC State should be the reason he keeps his job. I'm saying I'm of the opinion it could be or will be, but it is not my preference. It is I'm trying to look at it from the administration's point of view because of the data points, the daddy points. We have that he was not fired after Stanford. He was not fired after Clemson. So if he beats NC State, clearly they don't want to fire him. So anyway, yeah. But even still, like I don't know. I'm just rambling.
No, so it's like, well, you be Cincy State, lock him in. All right, we're good. And then you lose the floor. Like, no one is going to be happy. So again, like,
no, correct.
Can we just take?
I don't think.
Go ahead.
Could you imagine though, like thinking he's your coach, he's probably going to be your coach. Oh, he just lost to Florida. Here's that check. Like I just come back to I don't think you run an organization like that. Like you either
but the season's over at that point. Like the dust has settled, man. You know, it's done. Like so, then you can make your assessment and move on.
But I guess I would say like 6-6 or 7-5. It's still not a great year, right?
Correct. It's the kind of year that got Bobby Bowden pushed out of Florida State.
Right. So are you really gonna parse it down? To one win is the difference? Like, I can understand why 5 wins, that means you went 3-7. Peace. See ya. I'm done with you. But 1 win over Florida or a loss of Florida is the reason?
These rivalries, they matter a little bit, man. I know it's a 3-7 Florida team, but it's just, again, a point you made earlier, man. It's Groundhog Day 4 years later. Like, you are looking to be bowl eligible and playing an interim Florida team in Gainesville, and then they were 5-7 that year, man. They've lost 10 games in a season. They've lost 7 games in a season. They've lost 6 games in a season with him, and they've already lost 5, and they got 2 more games, and they're both on the road.
But what's crazy,
but if they beat NC State, he's still here. Unbelievable.
Because we're talking about the rivals. Is look at Florida, like look at that program. Like, again, and that's what I want to – that's what I just want to keep hammering that point home. Whether Norvell stays or not, it doesn't guarantee anything about 2026. You can bring Brian Hartline in here, and he might be an Urban Meyer in Jacksonville disaster. He might be just not cut out for this and completely in over his head. You have no idea. You just have no idea how 2026 would go with him, with Brian Kelly. Well, Brian Kelly, you'd have a pretty good idea. Yeah. But short of that, you would have no idea how it would work with any of these guys. Same with Florida. And Florida's been living this life for 15 years, and I just want people to understand, look around the country. Florida State, I just don't want you to feel less than. I don't. That's what I keep coming back to that. Like, don't poor mouth yourselves as a fan base because you have a coach that might be retained after going 6-6. That does not mean your administration accepts mediocrity or that Florida State is stuck in perpetuity and sucks. It just doesn't. 5-7 in 2021 didn't mean anything in 2022 and 2023. Nothing. In this day and age, it means even less what you did the year before. Virginia was horrible last year. They were picked to finish last in this conference. They're like 1 win away over Virginia Tech from being in Charlotte. Pittsburgh ended last year on a 7-game losing streak. Georgia Tech 2 years ago was they fired their coach.
3 years
and now
ago.
Here they are 1 win away from the ACC championship, and it has a lot more to do, in my opinion, I could be wrong, with Haynes King than Brent Key. So, anyway, all that being said, you were not destined for this. I'm going to keep hammering that, man, because the one thing I get kind of upset with Jeff and Tom about is they so poor-mouth the administration in the fact that Florida State doesn't look like a serious football program because they don't fire Mike Norvell. Serious to who? According to who? Who does look like a serious program? I listed all those names earlier. Is Florida a serious program? Because they've done nothing but hire jackasses for 15 years. The one good coach out of the 5 or 6 that they've hired was Dan Mullen, and they kicked him to the curb for Billy Napier. Good work, and they got a shark humper. You know what I mean? And Muschamp, good guy, couldn't coach. Blah blah blah. Like you are a blue blood, man. You are a football program. You have had a dip, and this guy might not be the guy, but you will get back to it again. It is Florida State. It is not hard to win here. It's certainly not as hard as this guy has made it look the last 2 years. 2024 is essentially unforgivable. Is that what it comes down to? Right? Like if this was the year that if he had this year in 2024, people would be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like 2024 was so bad, it puts a pall on everything he's done this year and the improvements they've made because this still isn't close to good enough. But that doesn't mean they can't be really good next year because they get a chance, thank heavens, to go get themselves a whole new roster. And they care enough that they will give this man a good roster, or give a man. Our woman, probably a man though, give a man a good roster next year. Florida State will be good again. They do take this sport seriously, man. Unlike Florida, they did not have a $55 million buyout for Billy Napier. Correct. You do have some extenuating circumstances. But the reason you have that buyout, Aslan, I just want to point this out there one last time, is because of how seriously you take your sport, that you wanted this guy so much to not go to Alabama that you gave him the universe. That's not a football program that shouldn't be taken seriously.
That wasn't a weak move.
It's not weak.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean? Yeah. That is a strong arm move that backfired significantly. But come on, man, you can miss me with that this program looks unserious or they don't care like effing Auburn cares. Give me a break. Well, come on, man. Quit poor-mouthing yourselves, Florida State fans. You're Florida State. You deserve better than this. You will be better than this. Soon. I promise. You got a long life to live, most of you people. You will see championships again in your lifetime. Don't know if Norvell is going to be the one hoisting them, but somebody will, and you will be celebrating because you're Florida State fans, and you get to celebrate more than you don't. And you will find a coach, a quarterback, a great team that will make you feel good and happy on most Saturdays again. This is not an impossibility. Quit believing that you're less than, because you're not.
I wish we did these in person still so I could look at you and wave my arm and be like, wrap it up. We got to go.
Sorry.
We got to talk about Underdog on the way out. We still don't have a full menu of picks rather, to choose from the NC State-Florida State game, but we do have one, and that's quarterback, Corey.
Oh, okay.
Tommy Castellanos, higher or lower, 240.5.
Lower.
NC State has the 134th ranked passing offense. They allow 299.9 yards per game.
Passing defense.
Passing defense, sorry. Yes.
They do?
Yes. They're horrible.
Oh,
man.
God.
Yeah.
But
to your point,
Florida State still wants to run the ball, right? And you still have to have a quarterback that can make throws.
Yeah. So
I'm going to say under.
Lower because we're doing underdog.
Lower. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, lower dog. I meant lower.
What do you think about John Mateer in Oklahoma hosting Missouri, 210.5 passing yards?
Lower. Not sold on that guy either.
Okay. Kyron Drones versus Miami. They were hosting Miami, 134.5 passing yards, or Carson Beck, 248.5 passing yards.
Man, I think I'm going to say Beck, because if Tommy could have hit some throws, like the throws he missed, there were 300 yards out there.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Beck's going to make a few more of those throws, so I'm going to say higher on that.
All right, that is a 6-1 payout over to Underdog Fantasy Sports. I'm going to put a small wager on this because I am running low on money.
Yeah, that's not a great. I don't know why why don't you make some selections, man? I'm clearly horrible at this.
I offered some the other day and I totally biffed, so I'll do one maybe later on in the week. But hey, everybody, check it all out. Get involved. Download the app today. Sign with promo code WARCHANT to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
Underdog Fantasy Sports must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. AI is coming for our jobs. Bots are actively making us fight each other on social media, and a pound of beef costs how much? Life has never been easy, but new stressors definitely complicate things. Oh, and there's you out there having to be a parent in this climate. Or maybe you're going through a bad breakup. Maybe you have to manage an ailing, aging family member. You're making do, but might be a good idea to talk some stuff out. Yes, we've got friends, but it might not be the easiest on-ramp to unload all of our problems onto them. That's where Rula comes in. RULA. Look, if we pull a muscle at the gym, we'll go see a doctor most times. Access to therapy should be treated the same, but there's high copays and long waits. It doesn't make sense for many, but Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. The average session copay is $15. That's basically the cost of lunch, but instead of a sandwich, you are investing in your own headspace. Thousands of men have already found the care that they need. Don't keep putting it off. Go to Rula.com/wakeup to get started. That's RULA.com/wakeup. Take the first step, get connected. Let's control our mental health.
I'm in Jacksonville now, everybody. Maybe you can tell from the audio. Somebody left a review that said that it's very echoey in here, which it is. Sorry, got really tall ceilings. I'm going to soundproof the heck out of this. Well, not soundproof, but I'm going to put some acoustic paneling around, so maybe it won't be that bad. But anyhow, hoops! Catch the fever, everybody. FSU moves to 3-0 on the season after an 87-73 win over UT Martin on Leonard Hamilton Appreciation Night at the Tuck. Ham, of course, a Skyhawk alum, but they were actually the UT Martin Pacers in his day. Anyhow, Hamilton recognized at halftime for his distinguished career at FSU that spanned 23 years with a banner that reads 438. That was Hamilton's career win total at FSU. As for the game, the Noles pulled away at the end, but this was a contest for a good portion of the evening. FSU struggled mightily at the line, making just 57% of their free throw attempts. Noles were also out-rebounded 41-34. However, they turned over the Skyhawks like housekeeping at the day's inn, everybody. 26 turnovers committed by UT Martin, including 19 steals by FSU. Offensively, 5 guys in double figures for the home team. Cam Miles with a team-high 17. As FSU pretty much just grinded away and then pulled away late in the second half. 16 points from Robert McRae, who missed some chances at the rim in the first half. LeJay Jones, 2 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 7 from behind the arc. That's 2 cold shooting games in a row from him, but it's still a Florida State win, so you got to remain a little bit encouraged there. No Chauncey Wiggins last night. We're not hearing the injury that he sustained or is dealing with as a significant one, but just wanted to let you all know that. Meanwhile, A.J. Swinton's indefinite suspension ended as he logged 12 points in 12 minutes. Really like what I saw from Martin Somerville. Maybe Somerville. My buddy used to live in Somerville, Massachusetts. The way they call it. If you live in Massachusetts, it's Somerville. He's just a hooper, man. Great energy guy, plays hard, feisty. 6 points, 5 dimes, 4 steals. Also, Alex Steen, distinguished, accomplished scorer from Florida Southern, flashed some of that scoring ability that he showed with the Mocs out in Polk County with 13 on the night. Robert McRae, still probably your alpha, but good to see different guys seeming to step up each game. This time, it was Miles' turn. And again, they didn't have Wiggins. Next up, Friday at the Tuck, Georgia Southern, 6 p.m. tip. They actually went neck and neck down to the wire with Georgia Tech, but fell. They succumbed to the Jackets late in the second half. Corey, one last thing on the way out, as you let me babble on about hoops because of editing and the way we do things. Let's give Mike _LA843 a victory lap. He wants a victory lap. He seeks victory lap. He shall get. Wake up listening to Monday's episode. I heard Corey talking about Kirby, saying that this program of his is all about physicality. But a couple of weeks ago, you guys told me nobody in college practices tackling. Talent is lacking, but our lack of physicality and just plain tackling is horrible. If you watch Georgia play, it would be hard to say that they don't practice tackling. That's why I'm a Glenn Schumann guy. Even though I do agree with Corey, he'll be there next year. He also knows the South, and he's been around Saban and Kirby. Sign me up.
Hey, man, I'm all for it. Again, Hartline is my first choice just because I want to see good receivers in this, like dominant receivers at this school again, like more than one. But yeah, I'm all for he or Hartline or somebody else from one of these awesome programs. There aren't many of them, but one of them. As far as the physicality, yeah, I mean, they're not bringing people to the ground. I don't know how else to. They don't do it. Kirby lamented it a couple of years ago. I think they hit hard. They thud, which is what Jimbo would always call it. I think that's what they all call
correct.
it.
They all do, yeah.
And Georgia probably thuds with a little more emphasis. They probably don't care about those scout team guys at all. I also just think they have better players and better players. Like, I guess I would point it to you this way. That 2013 team, the 2013 team, they didn't practice tackling during the week. They had guys like Telvin and LaMarcus that just had preternaturally physical gifts that when they hit you, even though they weren't the biggest guys in the world, went backwards. I don't know that how much of that was Jeremy Pruitt or who was the linebacker coach on that team. I should know that. I can't remember who the linebacker coach. Charles
Sal
Kelly,
Sunseri?
Maybe, yeah.
That was Charles
I don't
Kelly,
think it was his. I don't think it was his teaching techniques. I think they were just. I do think it's a mindset. Now, I'm not diminishing that. I do think it's a mindset. I don't think it's necessarily the practice. I think it's the kids they recruit and the mindset they instill that makes that. You know, if they don't thud, I think Kirby gets on them. I think that is absolutely a culture mindset thing, and Kirby has that in spades. But that is abnormal. I think Ohio State has it too. But again, you're looking at is that the coaching or is that the culture? Like you go to Georgia, man. You're a freshman linebacker at Georgia, and you see those starters and the way they hit. If you go out and don't play with that same kind of urgency and physicality, you will stick out like a sore thumb, and they will make fun of you. They will embarrass you. That's where you know you have a great culture and a great program is when that stuff happens. That has not happened under this man. The best players they had were, 1 year or 2 year rentals. So there wasn't a lot of culture being instilled from the players. Kirby instills that culture, man. So, yeah, I'm not saying they don't practice being physical, but they do not practice tackling. But those aren't mutually exclusive because it is incredible, man. I know they get good players, but Georgia just comes and thumps you.
Mm-hmm.
They just come and thump you. But I don't know, man. Would Kirby be like, would Blake Nicholson, if he was in Athens, look like those guys? Or is Blake Nicholson not in Athens because he's Blake Nicholson? Did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, all right. Sorry, Blake, not meaning to take shots. You played pretty well at
times. Why you got to go after the white guy, Corey, huh? Why you got to go after the white guy?
You're right. I should have said
easy.
Omar Graham. Omar Graham. There's a reason Omar Graham is not in Athens.
Both really good guys. Been here for a long time. Grinding out the program. We respect everything they do and their contributions to the team, and they're really good teammates, and we're just joking and having fun on a podcast, everybody. All right.
But they are not good enough to play at Georgia.
Accurate?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Charles Kelly, you're right. Charles Kelly.
Was the linebackers coach?
Correct. Sal Sinceri's defensive ends coach.
There you go. That's right. What a team that was.
For the last 2 minutes while you've been talking, I've just been looking at the team photo off Nole fan, and it's just like gangster, badass.
It's crazy,
gangster.
Man. Like, and Nate Andrews led that team in interceptions. Yeah. Jalen Ramsey was a freshman.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. Just an unbelievable I was watching. Somehow I saw my algorithm on YouTube had like an hour and a half highlight reel clip from that team. It's also funny. I found it. I can see. So it's Jameis being interviewed after the game in the tunnel at Clemson, because they interspersed interviews, and you see my frumpy butt behind him with hair, sort of hair.
Hell yeah.
Calling into the desk at the Tallahassee Democrat to give them quotes I had written down, so they could put it in my game story because it was the old ages.
Yeah.
It was the olden times of 12 years ago where I didn't have Wi-Fi on my phone. And I could text it. So anyway, that was just crazy to see me. It was pretty alarming to see what I looked like back then. But yeah, being reminded of that team, it just preposterous. Just a preposterous collection of talent. Bring back Jimbo.
He's
Who
around
cares at this point.
He's around.
Yeah, he's still hanging on.
Around.
Are there any Jernigans out there he can bring around too? Good night.
Live show 6:00 tonight. Corey, you down?
Ooh.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Yes, that's the plan. We have not talked about it.
Okay.
I will try to be in position to do a live show at 6 p.m. tonight. I will be heading north.
Okay.
But I should be on the road in time. You just never know with traffic.
You never do. You
just never know with traffic. And please, if you're going to ask a question or come at me, understand in no way, shape, or form am I saying Mike Norvell deserves to be the coach here next year. I'm going to keep saying it because I'm not going to be labeled that guy. Just like Jeff and I are always saying that I said Dylan Gibbons couldn't play and would suck. That's not the truth. I'm not saying that Mike Norvell should be the coach.
Yeah, you never said that. Yeah.
Well, they keep saying I did.
You're just preparing us for a more than reasonable possibility.
It's probable.
Don't say that. We got to go. We got to go. Oh, that hurts.
Sorry,
that hurts.
I didn't mean it's probable.
Go.
I mean it's not an impossibility. It's a possibility. Probably not a strong one, but it is a possibility. And, yeah, you need to be prepared for it because it could happen.
Okay. Live show 6 p.m., warchant.com. In the meantime, maybe the Warchant report will be up, powered by Cummins, but we'll see. Schedule's weird. Short week. Tough. Got to respond. We'll see how I respond. We'll see how Corey responds. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock, warchant.com, around the clock. Thumbs up, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code.